All right, good morning. We got topic today is how to grow a woodworking business in 2025. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over. I've got an article here that I'm going to talk about a little bit in conjunction with some of these topics I'm going to talk about. Okay, so what we're going to cover is we're going to talk about the housing market, the furniture market, kind of how they're correlated, and where that's going in 2025. We're going to talk about who's your customer, who are you selling to in 2025, all right? We're going to talk about handcrafted and prefabricated parts, right? And this is a little bit to do with made in America versus made overseas. And this is a little bit to deal with the potential of tariffs to come into 2025, right? And how that affects you as somebody who wants to grow, specifically a furniture company in 2025, right? We're going to talk about advertising a little bit. So advertising is something that woodworkers, I think, struggle with. And I hear a lot of people talking about it, and I'll give you some tips and things like that I'm doing in 2025. Okay, now we're going to talk about vertical integration, and vertical integration is something that nobody talks about, but that's going to become very important, right? We'll talk about what is it and why you need to be thinking about it in 2025 specifically. And then if you make it to the end of the video, I'll talk a little bit about organic traffic, and I'll show you what I do to grow my business and how it's grown my business without having to pay for advertising and pay for things like word of mouth, some of these kind of old ways of doing business. All right, so drink a little bit of coffee this morning. It's early. It's like 5 a.m. Woodworkers get up early, right? My stepdad was a woodworker. He got up super early. And do you get up early? Does everyone get up early? Is it like a prerequisite to become a woodworker? You have to get up at the ass crack of dawn to be a woodworker. Anyway, all right. So before I get going, just like, subscribe. If you like this kind of content, you want to know about the business of woodworking. Yeah, hit me up. Let me know. Ask me your questions, and I'll be happy to help you with that. First thing we're talking about is the housing market. What the hell does that have to do with the furniture market, right? Like, what does it matter? Okay, let me tell you something. In 2020, I thought that my furniture business was dead, right? We know the pandemic hit, and everybody that had a business was scared because business just fell off a cliff. No one knew what to do, and we all thought that we were going to go out of business and be on the unemployment line. Okay, and we know that the exact opposite happened. Okay, so what happened in 2020 is, in short, we stole business from 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. Every year that pandemic went on, we stole business basically 3 years ahead, and people bought all that stuff in 2020, 21, 2022. So what's getting ready to happen, I believe, is that the markets are getting ready to correct. Okay, they've been correcting for about the last 2 years, meaning if you were in the furniture space, sales were slower than they would have otherwise been because they were so hot in 2020, 2021, and 2022. Getting all these years right is a pain in the butt. But anyway, so I believe the market is correcting. Okay, now this isn't a political thing, but we do have a change in administration coming in, which is going to be much more friendly to business, right? It's going to be much more friendly to the person that wants to start a business in their garage, okay? It's going to be much more friendly to the person that, wants to go out and purchase a home, okay? It's going to be much more friendly to these kind of things, whether you're political or not, okay? So fact of the matter is that I believe in 2025, the housing market is getting ready to move again. And it might not move a ton, but it is definitely getting ready to move, okay? So when that housing market starts to unfreeze, to thaw, right? People are going to need more furniture. They're going to need more things, more built-ins. They're going to need more things built for the spaces in their homes, okay? And if you're targeting the right customer, you are going to get more business, and that's all there is to it, okay? Now, if we just look at what happened during the pandemic years, we all know that there was so much business that you couldn't take it all. There was not enough people to build things. There was not enough people to deliver things. There was not enough people to make anything. And it was just a humongous cluster. And that's getting ready to change, right? So 2025, look for the housing market to move. And that's going to be your opportunity to sell more furniture, right? If you're working out of a garage right now, I'm going to talk to the next few topics. You need to be focusing on these things to grow your customer base and to be there as that market starts to thaw, right? You need to be there to take advantage of these selling opportunities that will present themselves, okay? So 2025, housing market's going to move, so you need to be ready for that, right? I'm going to show you an article real quick. Over here. All right, so this article is from Better Homes and Gardens, and I just Googled housing market in 2025. I wasn't looking, or excuse me, furniture. I just Googled furniture market in 2025. I just kind of wanted to see, like what would come up, right? This was kind of the first thing that came up, right? So what we got is, first topic is pieces will blend modern comfort with timeless style. Okay, that means nothing. That's just something that chicks want to read. It means nothing for us as furniture makers. Okay, furniture with curves and soft edges. Okay, this does mean something, right? So this is going to be for people that make curved furniture. If you don't make curved furniture, right, you don't make demi-lunes, stuff like that, bow front, whatever you want to call it, you need to learn. So you need to up your skills so that you're offering products that can match what people are looking for. If you make mid-century modern furniture has a lot of really soft lines, and that's something that's going to help you, right? So if I go to my website, The Resplendent Crow, and I look up, let me just look up, let's see here. Let's see if any of this stuff comes up. Let's try a demi-lune. Let me know if yeah, here we go. All right, so I do make a vanity that's curved. I make a couple of vanities that are curved, right? So this is something that I can sell my customers that is of that curved nature. And so what I might do in 2025 is I might go ahead and maybe offer a product or two in this space that kind of meets that, right? I also happen to know that I make something, I don't know if I have it listed, in my Savannah line that is also curved nightstands. Let's see if they're in here. Nope, they're not even listed. Holy hell. Okay. That's something I need to work on. Anyway, so clearly there is something that's going to use curved lines and soft edges, okay? This is, again, like I said, mid-century modern furniture is going to fit this aesthetic perfectly. Now to our next one, this sustainability thing, this is all BS. This means nothing. This is for the crunchy people. This is for chicks that want to read stuff. Nobody cares where your stuff comes. Nobody cares where your materials come from when they're looking to buy your furniture. I've been in business for 7 years at this point. No one has ever asked me, is my product sustainable? Okay, they never have. They've never asked any of that stuff. The only questions I get asked, because I paint so much furniture, I have been asked by people out in California about my paint, right? Because they wanted it to be water-based. They didn't want it to be solvent-based. I have seen that in California a little bit, but everywhere else, it's a non-issue, okay? Now, the other thing that sustainability means, which is could be a great selling tool if you're in the vintage space, okay? If you're someone that sells vintage furniture, say you take a vintage dresser. There are a lot of dressers out there that can be modified into vanities. Sometimes customers want drawers taken out and doors put in, or they want doors where drawers used to be, so on and so forth. So you could potentially sell someone a sustainable product that is vintage, and there's something to that, But honestly, I mean, I think that's just it's just fluff for this article. So that's all I got to say on that one personally. So now we'll go to the next one. Emphasis on artisanal craftsmanship. Okay, this is a big point for furniture makers that that want to grow their businesses in 2025. Okay, artisanal craftsmanship can mean a whole bunch of things. Okay, but I'm gonna tell you what it means for me as a furniture maker that's been in this business for a long time. It means you are making high quality handmade stuff, right? The truth is that there are a lot of people that want handmade furniture. There are a lot of people that want to design their own furniture. They want to have a say in what it is that they're making. Most people cannot afford it, right? And that's just the truth, all right? And part of what we're going to talk about in this video is finding the customer that can afford all of this stuff and isn't going to bitch about the price. They're not going to come ask you questions about sustainability. They're not going to ask you questions about where your products come from. Can you get the price down? Do you take payment plans? They're not going to ask you any of that stuff, right? They just want to buy the furniture. They'll pay your price, and that's it, okay? So this is going to be a big thing in 2025. It's always been a big thing, to be quite honest with you. But again, with the housing market moving, you're going to see more of these people you're going to see more of these people potentially wanting to buy your stuff, right? Handmade furniture in America. Now we'll go to the next topic, rich textures and mixed patterns. Okay, again, this doesn't really necessarily affect furniture makers, but I'll tell you where this can potentially affect you. Okay, and this is when you're dealing with multiple mediums as a furniture maker, right? You're dealing with, you could be dealing with fabrics, metals, obviously woods, paints, things like that. This is very important to a lot of people that are affluent. And when we're talking about the customer side, this is something you're going to want to look at. Again, I'll go to the Resplendent Crow because that's part of what I'm doing with this thing. I'll just do a quick search here for desk. And I've shown this in a couple of videos, but it's pertinent. Okay, so I make several desks, but I always go to this desk right here. This is my executive desk. I sell this for almost $19,000 because of all the work that goes into it. Okay, now let me pull up see if I got a good picture. Here we go. We'll this picture. Okay, this desk, all of this material on here, this is all brass, right? And some of you are saying, "Oh, I don't really want to deal with brass," and that's cool. I get it. It's a whole nother animal. I mean, you're dealing with cutting brass, which isn't a big deal, but then you need to sand it, you need to polish it, you need to lacquer it, so it can be a pain in the butt. But you see, we have the high gloss cabinet, right, or the high gloss desk. It's super shiny. You're dealing with polishing, you're dealing with all kinds of things, and then you take on the brass element, right? People are paying for that. They're paying for your skills. They're paying for you to make them something that is unique. They're paying for you to make something that nobody else has, okay? The person that buys a Bentley is going to buy this desk. A person that owns a Ferrari is going to buy this desk, okay? The woman with a $30,000 diamond ring is going to want to buy this desk, okay? These are the customers that I'm talking about. And while there are not necessarily a ton of these customers, this is the kind of product that I'm talking about with these rich textiles, okay? Another thing that you can do, let me go back here. Another thing you can do is, obviously, we were talking about sustainability a minute ago. This desk, right? This is a vintage desk. This isn't something that I build. I do build a version, but I don't build this one. This is a vintage desk. This probably is Henry Link. And anyway, when they talk about sustainability, this is what they're talking about. This desk used to be unpainted, okay? Obviously, we take it, we paint it, blah, 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 blah. This is going to be American made. It's recycled furniture, or some people call it vintage. They call it used. They call it whatever, repurposed. And then it's painted, okay? This is sustainable. This is the thing that they're talking about. When we talk about, different textures, different mediums, having a painted piece of furniture is something that they're talking about. All right, mixed patterns. Okay, let's go down to this next one. What's the scalloped details? So this one is going to be, so they're specifically saying the 50s are back, okay? This is your mid-century modern style. And honestly, the scallop features, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. I mean, this is more about, I guess, tuft furniture, which would be, you're talking about chairs and couches and things like that. Could be talking about this rug as well. This isn't my space specifically, but they're basically talking about lush layering and things like that, which I can talk about that a little bit in the furniture side, but not in this video. 70s inspired furniture. Now, this is very specific. So let's see what they're talking about here. I've read this article. I've pre-read all this stuff. I'm just kind of rolling with it. See, decades inspired furniture. It looks like we predict 70s big influence, 70s resurgence through low-hung sofas, chunky shapes, and earthy tones paired with bold patterns. Okay, cool. So I know what this means. All right. So low-slung couches and things like that. This is a thing from the 50s, okay? If you go back to Sears and Roebuck, they used to sell this kind of furniture. It was very popular. So I kind of know what they're talking about here. Now, they're talking about big, chunky shapes. So one of the things that I'll show you guys real quick, earthy tones. So this is going to be for you people that want to make stain grade furniture. You want to make things out of walnut, cherry, maple. Maybe you're into, exotic woods, babingas, things like that. Your zebra wood, your Mozambique, these kind of exotic woods. But I'll go back to Resplendent Crow here. I'm going to show you guys. We sell a lot of hardware. So let's see, I got this desk real quick. So I sell all the hardware for this desk right now. This desk is campaign style. And again, it's big, chunky. These are called military poles, right? That's kind of the traditional name for it. But it's all, the style of furniture is campaign. So this kind of stuff is going to be back in vogue. They want to see that big brass hardware or that big plated tin hardware and things like that. What they don't want to see is they don't want to see integrated hardware. Things where you got poles that are integrated on the top of the drawer box, or you've got, touch latches. Like that stuff's cheap. It's not something we're going to be looking for in 2025. Let's do a quick search for hardware. Again, I designed to make my own hardware in India. My wife's from India. And, I can talk all about that if you guys want another video. Okay, so we got this big chunky hardware. All this stuff is massive. We sell all this stuff and we put it on a lot of our hardware, which is a whole other thing furniture companies can potentially think about, or people that want to make furniture can potentially think about. When you sell your own hardware on the furniture that you make, it increases your margin massively. And again, that's a whole separate video. I'm not talking about that today. But anyway, got lots of this big chunky hardware. And here's a picture. Let's look at this china cabinet. You can see how large this decorative hardware is. It's quite large, and it has a presence to it outside of the furniture itself, right? Yes, the hardware complements the furniture, but it's also big and it makes a statement. It says something. Your eye is drawn to it, and that's very important. We got one more picture back here. I saw this. Another thing. This is, I believe this is a 12 drawer dresser. But again, see how massive this hardware is. So this is some of the things that we're going to see in 2025, I think, which is fantastic because I've been waiting for this. So the big chunky hardware, your more affluent customer is going to want this style. Wingback chairs. All right, I'm not worried about chairs. I'm not making chairs. I would love to make a chair, to be quite honest with you. I'd love to learn about upholstery, and I think that's just the craftsman in us, right? Like we just want to make all kinds of stuff. And anyway, that's on the to-do list. All right, so that's the end of that article. All right, 2025. Who is your customer? All right, so there's a couple ways to think about this one. The customer in 2020 through 2023 was everybody, because everyone was buying. Anybody could potentially be a customer. It's just a crazy time, as an anomaly, right? 2024, customers a little more discerning, but they're still buying furniture. But because the housing market, which we talked about in the last section, was very constrained. I believe that as that opens up, more people are going to be purchasing homes, right? So your customer is going to be an affluent person. It's going to be someone that makes $200,000 a year and up, right? Your customer is going to be a designer. You want to get around designers because they have all the affluent customers, right? No one's going to use a designer that can't, pay for the designer. Designers are expensive. So customers you want to target in 2025 are going to be your high net worth customers, and it's going to be your design customer. Okay. The guy down the street, not necessarily who you're going to want to work with. The guy on Facebook Marketplace, not worth your time. The people on Etsy, you can start there, but your goal needs to move beyond Etsy, needs to move beyond these other platforms, and you need to get into the spaces where customers are that have the money, right? So some of the things you can do in 2025 are going to be going to trade shows. And I've talked about this a couple of times. I haven't taken my own furniture to these spaces due to I don't have the time, to be quite honest with you. I haven't had the ability to produce enough furniture to go to these trade shows as a presenter or an exhibitor. But I have gone a couple of times just to see what's going on. This is a great place to meet people. It's a good place to see what the industries are doing. So in 2025, I would advise you to go to some of these trade shows. And the one I would recommend is High Point, right? And there's also one called Round Rock in Texas. High Point is obviously in North Carolina. Do a Google search on this stuff and go there, because there's hundreds of thousands of people that are going to go to these events over a 1 week period. And you're going to learn a ton, and it will help you to curate a collection of furniture and make things that people actually want, right? Because designers, believe it or not, read articles like what we were just talking about, this 8 furniture trends that will be huge in 2025, right? And it's not necessarily Better Homes and Gardens. There's all kinds of magazines you can look at, and you should look at all of them. But that's your customer. Your customer is going to be an affluent person in 2025. It's going to be people that are looking to buy new homes in 2025, get out of their old house, get a new house, new construction, things like this, right? So that's who you're looking for in 2025 if you're in the furniture game, right? Next section we're going to talk about handcrafted versus prefabricated. Okay, what I mean by this is if you're one of these people that is purchasing a lot of stuff overseas and then adding value to it here in America and then selling it, you are potentially putting yourself in a situation to have an increase in the cost of doing business. You're putting yourself in a situation where your margin from buying something overseas and then selling it here in America can potentially be compromised due to this whole tariff situation, right? And again, this isn't a political thing. This is just the reality of 2025. We have a new administration coming in who is much more interested in having things made in America versus made overseas. And they don't care about the price, right? They don't. And I've been in the furniture game for 25 years at this point. And the truth is that things made in America are really expensive. And that's just the reality of it. It's been very hard to be in this business for a long time unless you're selling to a very high net worth investor, a very high net worth individual. And And I think it's getting a little bit easier to make furniture, right? So everyone is afraid that, oh, these tariffs are going to come in. It's going to make things more expensive. I'm not going to be able to afford as much, and I'm here to tell you that that is absolutely not true. Because you are selling a higher end product, you are selling a more expensive purchase, while there are fewer people purchasing goods in the aggregate if the price of things go up. When it comes to furniture, because your customer, which I was just talking about, is a higher net worth individual, that is not going to affect you, right? And this is what I've learned over the years of being in the furniture manufacturing game. If you target the high net worth individual, there are no slow years, right? There are years where you'll do less business, but there's almost a floor in the amount of potential customers, right? Because in America, people are almost always getting richer, right? And right now you have a large divide in the classes, right? Which is actually getting bigger, which means you're probably in the middle class right now. It's actually getting harder for you. So you need to pick a side. You can go to the high net worth. You want to be a rich person, or are you going to go down and be a poor person, right? And truth is you need to sell to these rich people, and it's just the reality of the situation. And if you are making things here in America, if you're buying things here in America, you're going to have less exposure to this whole tariff thing. Okay. As woodworkers, we tend to think that, well, all my stuff's made in America. All my woods come from America. All my plywoods come from America. And here's the truth. They don't. And if they do, the equipment that is used to produce those things potentially comes from foreign countries. And that's just the reality of the situation. So even your American-made companies buy stuff overseas for their American-made machines. Okay, and it's just the reality of it. Okay, now, so if you are buying plywoods, okay, there are lots of plywood manufacturers in America, but for the most part, you have Columbia Forestry Products, and you're going to have Roseburg. Okay, these are very large mills, and they are probably going to be less affected by the tariff situation than things like buying your Baltic birches, Russian birches, things like that, which of course are made overseas. Now, if you can find American vendors, keep them in your Rolodex this year, because if these tariffs come into play, it's going to be very important that you have alternative products that you can purchase to make your customers' goods, right? And again, you're dealing with an affluent customer, so the cost isn't necessarily going to be your biggest concern. But if you're making a credenza, that has, 50% margin, you can get squeezed on that margin when the cost of things start to elevate. Okay. And so you need to have alternative vendors and alternative places to procure stuff to keep your margins where you want them to be. So be thinking about that kind of stuff here in 2025. And a lot of people aren't talking about it, but if you're buying foreign made tools, the cost of those tools could go up 25% overnight. If you're looking at things like hinges and slides and door catches and screws and things like that we all use, there are a ton of screw manufacturers in America. So you should have no problem finding a good screw manufacturer that isn't going to have an insane amount of price increases due to tariffs, right? Now, the metal is a different situation. A lot of metal comes from foreign countries, and just the truth of the situation. If you're buying slides, if you're buying hinges, look at where you're buying those things. I recommend using Bloom on everything if you can, but there are other manufacturers. I don't know where everyone's stuff is made, but just be looking for that stuff. Have some alternative vendors and alternative products in mind. So again, you're not caught with your pants down. Advertising in 2025 versus advertising in previous years isn't going to change a ton. The thing that's going to be different is that you're going to have to do it. Okay. In 2020, I didn't spend $1 in advertising. In 2021, I didn't spend $1 in advertising, and I was pulling in 6 figures a month and did millions of dollars in sales without any effort, because everyone was buying. Okay. Fast forward to 2024, suddenly I'm back to spending $5,000 to $10,000 a month in advertising because that's just how it works. That's how the internet game works. We're an internet-based business. Yes, we have a shop here in St. Louis, Missouri, but again, when you ship furniture all over the country, people have to find your furniture. Like, I got more customers in New York than I do right here in St. Louis. I've got more customers in Miami, Florida than I do right here in St. Louis, Missouri. This idea of you being a, wherever local based business and you have this 50-mile radius, those days are over. And in 2025, if you want to grow a furniture company, you need to get on board with sending your furniture all over the place. And truth is, it's not that difficult. Depending on what it is you make. If you make stain grade furniture, shipping furniture is a breeze. You can literally hire it out on UShip. I mean, it sounds crazy, but you can, because the potential to damage your product is so much less. Now, if you do what I do, which is high gloss lacquer furniture, I mean, you look at it and you can damage it. So it's a very different business model that I have that you're probably going to have in 2025. But point is that you're going to have to spend money on advertising. And the other thing is that when if the housing market grows like I think it is going to grow, and if tariffs come in like I think tariffs are going to come in, trust me, more people are going to get into the making things in America space, which is going to mean you're going to have more competition, right? So you got to be thinking about that, So if you're just selling to your local area, you're going to have more competition. Now, if you're selling to America, there's way more customers, and there's much more of the pie that you could potentially soak up. Okay, so be thinking about that kind of stuff. And plus, the other great thing about advertising in 2025 is if you can open up who you're advertising to, the customer in, let's say, Boston, Massachusetts, may want something that you've designed in, if you live in Dallas, Texas, if you live in, Corvallis, Oregon, where I'm from. They may want your furniture, and you can deliver it to them. Okay, so it opens up people all over the country being able to purchase things that you design. Now, if you make some generic ass product and anybody can make, if you're making cutting boards, like no one's going to buy your cutting board, in Dallas, Texas, because there's a million other people making cutting boards. But if you make a very unique product that nobody else is making in America, somebody in New York will want your product when you are in Oregon. Okay, so I'll give you an example of this real quick, since this is my damn channel, I can talk about whatever I want to talk about. So let's go to the Resplendent Crow. Let's go to Newly Made. So I've got a bunch of product lines. So I'm going to show you guys something that only I make, right? So this is a product that only I make, and there we go. This is my Greek key credenza. Okay, I'm the only person in America making this piece of furniture. Now, I sell this furniture. I probably sold 6 of these last year. I didn't make a ton of them. These take a lot of work. Okay, this is not something that I make a massive margin on right now. But my goal with this particular piece of furniture, this is a side note, my goal with this particular piece of furniture is to develop some interest. I will market the shit out of this thing, and I will get more of the parts cut on a CNC. Right now, I hand make everything. All of the Greek key details, I hand make all that in my shop using a pin router. Right now, this is as handmade as it gets. All of these legs, these are all made in-house. I literally do this with a router and a jig, right? So I can outsource all this stuff. I can have all these credenza legs made by my leg turner in Pennsylvania, and they'll make all that stuff for me, so I don't have to ever make it again. But I can't spend all that money to buy all those parts and just have that money sitting on my shelf right now. That's not a good way to run a business. So anyway, the customer in New York that wants to buy this piece of furniture can buy it from me if I live in California, if I live in Oregon, if I live on the opposite coast. Okay. Now, if I was just in my 50-mile radius in Oregon, the person in New York is never going to have access to this thing. And no one in New York is making this thing, right? So the person in New York would have to go to a custom builder, right? And go to all the trouble of building this piece of furniture, coming up with drawings and all this kind of stuff. And there's a lot of work that goes into it. But now, because if you're advertising in 2025 correctly, they're going to see this product and they can buy this product from you, and you can ship it out to New York. So advertising in 2025 is going to be a big deal. And if you're not doing advertising, you need to get on board and make it happen, because it's going to be very important to have a large customer base for your products. So if you're not using meta ads, which is Facebook and Instagram, you need to look at doing that. And even if it's only $50 a month, do it. Get in the habit of learning how advertising works. And it's going to pay dividends in the years ahead for you to be able to get your product to more customers. So I implore you to look into advertising. If you want videos on this kind of stuff, let me know. I can help out with it. I can make videos on all this kind of stuff. My wife's really good at it. We actually have an ads manager that I can do an interview with my ads manager and talk about this kind of stuff. So if you want that video, let me know. I'd be happy to talk about it. So advertising 2025, get on Meta, get on Google, learn this kind of stuff, even if it's only $50 a month, and just start the process of learning how the advertising works. All right, on to our next thing. I'm talking about vertical integration. So vertical integration is, I mean, it's almost like it's a little bit of a joke, to be quite honest with you. For the last, I don't know, decade, everyone's used all these, Six Sigma, lean manufacturing, vertical integration. There's all these like terms that everyone talks about because they want to sound like they know what they're talking about. And the truth is that vertical integration is going to become important because you can't outsource everything anymore. And that's part of what I was talking about in the beginning part of this, is that I believe that as these tariffs come in, it's going to make everything more expensive, right? So if you're one of these people that's buying things overseas to add to your products, it's going to be time to start bringing some of that stuff in-house, okay? As the cost of labor continues to grow, these services that you use are going to continue to get more expensive, right? So if you're having parts CNC cut, there's no doubt about that can help you on the margin side to not have to do that yourself. But the cost for that router and the cost for the operator of that router are going to continue to go up, which is going to drive the cost of your products, right? The catches and slides that you're buying, if you buy those things overseas, that stuff's going to go up in price, right? If you're shipping furniture using an outside shipper, the cost to move those products from state to state is going to get more expensive, right? Everything that you pay for currently is getting more expensive, but it will continue to get more expensive in 2025. Now, if you can bring those things in-house, if you have the space, if you have the skills, if you have the time, you can do those things that will help you to keep your margins where you want them to be. Yes, you will incur more costs, I believe, in the short term, but in the long run, you're going to develop skills and technology and be able to produce things more efficiently than using an outside vendor. And again, because everything is so expensive, it's going to drive the cost of things up significantly for you, okay? And one of the things that we have to think about in 2025 is that as we are growing our business and we are purchasing things from other services, everyone's going to be trying to make more money, right? So the cost of all these things is going to continue to go up. If you can do these things in-house, develop the efficiencies and the technologies to do them in your shop or in your facility, it's going to allow you to be more, it's going to allow you to keep more of the money in the company, okay, which is, again, going to be very important. One of the things that people aren't talking about one of the things I think that people aren't talking about into 2025 is that we are getting away from storing large amounts of product, okay? These days of having 10 kits of furniture sitting on the shelf, 200 slides, 200 hinges, 50 boxes of sandpaper. Those days are getting ready to be over because the cost to keep that inventory on your shelf is going to get prohibitively expensive. Okay, so being able to make things in-house, and I'm going so far as I'll go crazy and say, making your own sandpaper, could be something you want to look into. That's a little bit excessive, but if you are buying table legs from overseas, you may want to look at making those here locally. You may want to look at making those here in the United States first, but then maybe look at making them yourself. Maybe it's time to invest $10,000 into an automated lathe, right? Or maybe it's time to look into, hiring someone that knows how to use a lathe, depending on how many legs you make, how many feet you make, things like this. You need to be thinking about this kind of stuff because every service that you use to make a piece of furniture is going to get more expensive in 2025. I guarantee it. Okay. We haven't talked at all about this, the immigration side of things, but if we start moving people out of the country, okay, labor will go up, right? It will get more expensive to do business here in America. So the more things that you can do as a company now will set you up for when things get really expensive here in the next year or two. So these are things that, again, I don't think furniture makers talk about, people that are growing businesses talk about, but I see the stuff potentially coming down the pipeline, and we want to be talking about it because we don't want to be caught flat-footed when labor is really expensive and the services that we use are really expensive, and the materials that we're buying overseas and products we're buying overseas get crazy expensive. So be thinking about this stuff. And so anything you can vertically integrate into your business is going to pay dividends, I believe, in the future. So, all right. So that's kind of the last of what I want to talk about. If you've made it this far, I'm going to talk a little bit about organic traffic. And this is something that nobody talks about, but is one of the most important things you can do as a furniture maker or someone that wants to grow a woodworking business, because it doesn't cost anything. What it does take is it takes your time. And as a growing company, you probably have more time than you do money, because furniture is a hard business to make money in. You can potentially grow your business slower at first, but then faster. The more places you can put your content, that content lives on for a very long time. And people don't know this about Google, but Google is a learning entity, right? So if it sees that your brand has been in the search algorithm for a long time, and you have continuously put out content, Google knows that you have continuously put out content. If other people talk about your content or post your content, Google knows all those things, and you start to develop what they call like, know, and trust, right? So, and I'm just talking about Google, okay? Google like, knows, and trusts your brand. And the more content you can put up for a longer period of time, the more you're going to rise in the search algorithm naturally, okay? This is called organic search, okay? So quickly, one of the things that we do is we have the Resplendent Home, right? This is literally just a blog where my wife puts up content about our furniture, right? And we've put this up over a long time. And again, we have super glossy pictures. We have just tons of posts we've done over the years. I don't know what the advertising has to do with this, but anyway, we've done all this stuff. This blog comes up organically on the first page of Google. And if you don't know what that means, that is huge. That's that's almost more important than advertising on Google, okay? If I go to Faux Bamboo Furniture, we can scroll down here. Let's see, and is this the first page? Let's see, let's go all the way down here. Yeah, this is the first page on Google, okay? So pay attention. So we start at the top, we scroll down, and of course, everything on Google is always going to be ads, no matter what you search. And it's probably going to be ads that don't even pertain to what the hell it is you're searching for. But because these people pay so much money, they get first. Okay, we go past images. All right, so we go past videos, and there's my video. This is from the Modern Woodrunner. It's on the first page of Google. Okay, that's important. But what I want to show you is we got an Etsy. Again, these are all people paying massive dollars for spending. But the very first search that comes up where there's no advertising being paid is the Resplendent Home. And that's very important because, again, we don't pay for advertising on the Resplendent Home. We pay shit tons of money for the Resplendent Crow, which is very different, okay? But the Resplendent Home and the Resplendent Crow are kind of linked together, okay? So when you do a search for faux bamboo furniture, we pop up first, right? But you'll notice that you'll notice that the Resplendent Crow doesn't even show up when you do faux bamboo furniture, okay? We're the best when it comes to doing faux bamboo furniture. We pay tons of money for advertising, but nothing like an Etsy or a First Dibs or a Pottery Barn or a Crate and Barrel. You know, these companies, Amazon, like these companies that frankly sell garbage as far as I'm concerned. They have all the top searches, right? Because they're paying for it. But that organic search, when you get through all the paying people, the organic search that comes up is the Resplendent Home. And that's the important thing. That's what you need to take away from this organic traffic. Okay. Now, if I go over to the Modern Woodrunner, okay, this is something that I've developed. I don't talk about it much because I just haven't worked on it a bunch. It needs a lot of work, but I've started to work on this, and I actually started this probably 2 years ago. And again, I haven't done a ton of it, but I get emails all the time from people asking me questions about different kinds of furniture, right? I sell more faux bamboo parts on this website than I do at the Resplendent Crow, right? It's kind of weird. It's goofy, so we got that going on. I've got the Modern Woodrunner. I get so much traffic asking questions about furniture from my YouTube videos than I do on the Resplendent Crow. I just get tons of people asking me questions because they see all the Woodrunner content. Okay. And I also have the Instagram side, which I don't know if I even have that pulled up. I don't have that pulled up, but we have the Resplendent Pro on Instagram. We have the Modern Woodrunner on Instagram, and it just gets tons of questions and traffic about our furniture. And all of these things, going back to Google, okay, if we go into, what's the first one that pulls up? Let's just go to images real quick. I don't know what the hell is going to pull up here, but we're going to look, okay, again, see all this Etsy, Wicker Warehouse, Etsy. These is all people paying for advertising, okay? Now, Pinterest shows up. This is a fantastic place to put your content, right? And you do have to pay for it to really get it to show up, but it's just, these are all people paying for stuff, you know? And I don't think any of our furniture even shows up, even though we have the best pictures. I mean, it's not even a question, you know? Oh, there's the Resplendent home right there. You know, so the Resplendent home just shows up for some reason. I don't know why, but it just does. It's everywhere. More Resplendent home. And for some reason, they like this photo. You know, I don't know what that means. Okay, so we're going to go back. And we're going to go to videos real quick. Okay, this is another thing I'll show you. Let's just go to click on video. So we click on video, and this is all just associated with faux bamboo furniture. Okay, again, here's my video. It's number 1. Here's my video. It's number 3. Right, then you have some of this weird actual like faux bamboo type furniture, which in America doesn't mean the same thing. Faux bamboo furniture is a style popularized by Henry Link, Thomasville, Dixie, these companies. But anyway, so get more of my videos and more videos. It's if you can make this content continuously for a long period of time, you don't have to pay for it. It does take a long time, but you don't have to pay for it. But if you could do that in conjunction with advertising, you're going to develop like, know, and trust. And Google knows all this stuff. And Google is the most powerful search engine in the world. So it's very important that you train Google to associate your brand with specific things. Faux bamboo furniture is a huge one. Okay. Now let's do it. I can do one more search here. Let's just try this. This is again, I'm just doing this on the spot here. Let's do Dorothy Draper. We'll go specific. Espana. Let's type in chest. All right, Dorothy Draper, Espana chest on videos, okay? All of my content shows up. And again, I don't pay for advertising. I don't do any of this stuff. It all shows up. Whether it's a video I made on YouTube, my Instagram posts show up. I mean, this is all stuff from Instagram or YouTube, right? And that's what it is. And Dorothy Draper Espana chests are very popular. You know, it's not a dead thing, right? If I go over to Resplendent home, like let's do a search for Dorothy Draper. And I'm losing the men here, but men, you're just going to have to take this and apply it to your business. Dorothy Draper chest, look at that. There's the chest, okay? And she has a full article probably about this. Let's see what it says. Yeah, she's got Dorothy Draper chest. There's a full article on it. You know, there's the iconic stuff from Sex and the City. And again, I know I'm losing men, but men, you need to apply this to your business. This is very important. If we go to, click back here. So, go back to all, do Dorothy Draper chest. If we do the search on Google for Dorothy Draper chest, you can see all of the people paying for advertising, right? Etsy, eBay, First Dibs, right? All the stuff shows up. And there again, the Resplendent home. If we go to videos, look, there's Eric's videos. And this is Kindle. Kindle's the one that got the license to make it from Henrodon. Their video is awesome, you know. But again, Resplendent home, Resplendent home. This is where this organic search comes in. So if you can get really good at making something, put out a lot of content about it, you can develop this organic search thing, which is massive. And people don't talk about it enough, but it's almost everything when it comes to marketing an internet-based business. You want to show up first in the search engine. You want to show up first in the organic traffic. And if you can do these things long enough, get specific about what it is you're doing, you can do this thing, okay? It's very important. So, this talk has gone long enough. I'm not going to continue this. I hope this is helpful. I know there's a lot of information here, and a lot of people don't want to watch a guy talk about the business of furniture making, but truth is this what needs to be seen. Everyone needs to know this kind of stuff because I've been in the game a long time, developed a lot of things on the internet, a lot of things in my factory here in St. Louis, Missouri, and I've just been through a lot of shit, and it's important that people hear this information if they want to grow an actual company. One of the things that really bothers me is a lot of these people on YouTube, talking about their furniture business and their woodworking business. And the truth is that a lot of them aren't selling furniture. They're not selling case goods. They're basically just selling the idea of being a furniture maker. They're making a video about making a piece of furniture, and they're selling advertisements. They're selling sponsorships. They're selling anything but furniture, right? Because honestly, making furniture is really hard. They don't want to deal with the shipping. The guys that are talking about, selling lots of stuff are making cutting boards. They're making, things in plastics. They can be cut on a CNC router and shipped via a massive carrier like FedEx and YouTube. And the truth is that most of us we want to make furniture. We don't want to make some little, goofball part that a million other people are making that can be outsourced and sold overseas for super cheap, or excuse me, can be made overseas for super cheap, right? If the truth is about this foreign made stuff, and the guys that are selling, the guys that are selling stuff that's made overseas and brought here, if tariffs come into play, the products that you're getting made overseas, the markup is so high on that stuff here in America. If the tariff went up to 100%, they wouldn't change how they sell their stuff because it's so cheap to make it in a foreign country and then resell it here in America. It's sad, to be quite honest with you. The American consumer is being crushed by the cost of selling things in America to Americans by people making it overseas. And honestly, it needs to stop. It's a big problem. We need to get more people making furniture. We need to get more people making everything. There should be, instead of 10,000 furniture makers in America, there should be 1 million furniture makers in America. It will get the price to come down. There is enough pie for everyone, and people could do this thing that they want to do more often if we had less foreign competition and more people selling us bullshit on things like on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, people talking about the business of furniture making, but not actually making furniture. Okay, so anyway, I hope everyone has a great weekend, and I will yak at you all later.